In this video, we are continuing our series on aggregate functions. This video will focus on the SumIf, CountIF, and AverageIF functions. What the SumIf, CountIF, and AverageIF functions do is they take the sum, total, or average given a set of conditions. So for instance, if I wanted to calculate the total FMV for maybe just the Airbus airplanes, so there's a conditional attached to that sum. Only sum if these conditions are met. So that's where the SumIf, CountIF, and AverageIF statements come in. It allows you to perform a sum, count, or average with certain criteria attached to it. So let's jump into it. Okay, so in this example, I want to take the total FMV for Airbus products. So if I start typing SumIf, what you'll notice is that there's actually two SumIf functions. There's a SumIf and a SumIfs with an S. The difference is the SumIf function only allows you to type in one criteria, whereas the SumIfs function allows you to type in multiple set of criteria. Now, since the order of the parameters is slightly different, and since the SumIfs function works for just a single parameter, I only bother learning the SumIfs function. There's no point to learn the SumIf function because it only works for that very special case of only one criteria. The SumIfs function, same with the AverageIf and the CountIfs, will work for any number of criteria from 1 to 100. Okay, so we're only going to focus on the SumIfs. So SumIfs function takes, at a minimum, 3 parameters, where the first parameter is your sum range. These are the values that we are going to be taking the sum of. So since I'm totaling the FMV, that's the sum range. I'm going to highlight the column of my values that I'm going to sum. On to my next parameter. This is the criteria range. Notice it says range, which means multiple values. So this is, okay, I want the total FMV for Airbus. So now it's saying, well, what column or what range of values do I want to look for this Airbus value? And that is this range of values under the aircraft manufacturer. So I highlight the range of all of these values. My next criteria is, what is the actual criteria? So now I've got the range of values that I want to look at. This parameter is, okay, now that I've got the range, what actually am I looking for? And what I'm actually looking for is this value Airbus. Anytime you type in text in Excel, since Airbus obviously is a text string, you want to make sure you include it in quotation marks. Close your parameters with a parenthesis and hit enter. And there you go. So 22,711. So just quickly looking at it, we've got 21,800, 322, and 529, which is really close. It looks like it's exactly that 22,711. Okay, so that was with one single parameter. Now, what if I want to add in a couple parameters? So let's look at the second example where it wants me to take the total FMV for Boeing where the FMV is greater than 10,000. So now I've got two different parameters that I need to consider. I need Boeing only aircraft, and I need an FMV that is greater than 10,000. Okay, I'm going to start by typing the SumIfs function. I'm going to highlight my sum range, which is the FMV. Now you notice this criteria range 1 and then criteria 1. So first I'm starting with the range. Let's just start by the Boeing aircraft. So I'm going to highlight my aircraft manufacturer values. Hit comma. Now I enter the criteria. Since Boeing is a text string, I'm going to include it into quotation marks. Hit comma. And now the parameters just repeat themselves. So I'm criteria range 2, criteria 2. If I added another one, criteria range 3, criteria 3, etc., etc. So in this criteria, I want to look at the FMV greater than 10,000. So my criteria range is again going to be FMV. This time it's as a criteria and not a sum range. Hit comma, and now I'm ready to enter the actual criteria. Now, if I just typed in the value 10,000, it would be looking for values where the FMV is exactly 10,000. In this case, I needed to add in an operation that says greater than 10,000. The greater than sign is actually not a numeric value, and therefore I need to include quotation marks along with that greater than sign. And then concatenate onto that greater than sign the value 10,000. Now if I close my parentheses and execute the function, it'll return the result 13,200. Looking at my data, only looking at Boeing aircraft, you notice that there's only one value that is greater than 10,000, and that is this 13,200, which is exactly what this function returned. You can do this same formula with any number of criteria, and I'll leave you to work on the next examples by yourself. Make sure you look at the results to make sure that you got the right answer, and we're going to move on to the next function, CountIFs. So CountIFs is very similar to the SumIFs, only this time we're strictly just counting values instead of summing. So there's actually one less parameter with the CountIFs function. Again, you'll notice with the CountIF, there'll be CountIF and CountIFs with an S. Same thing as a SumIf. CountIF is for one criteria, CountIFs is for two. We're only going to worry about the CountIFs because it'll also take into account the one criteria situations. So all we've got, since we don't have any range to sum, we've just simply got a criteria range and a criteria. So in this case, I want to find the number of parts for Airbus. So I just highlight my criteria range, comma, type in my criteria, which is Airbus, close my parentheses, and I get 4, since there are 4 parts that are Airbus parts. Second example, count the number of parts for Boeing where the FMV is greater than 10,000. So just like before, we've already done this example. So CountIFs, I'm going to highlight my criteria range, comma, second parameter, I'm going to type Boeing to say that Boeing is the criteria that I want it to be equal to. Next is where the FMV is greater than 10,000. So highlight my FMV criteria. Hit comma, so I now enter the actual criteria. And again, since I want a greater than 10,000, I need to include the greater than sign with quotation marks since it's not a numeric value. And then concatenate onto that value the number 10,000. There you go. There's a few more examples here with 2 up to 3, maybe even 4 criteria. It's the same process. I'll leave those for you to do on your own. And again, make sure you check your score to make sure you did it right. The last function we're going to talk about is the AverageIFs function. Similar to the SumIf and CountIFs, there is 2 functions that you can use, the AverageIF and AverageIFs. We're only going to focus on the ifs. Now, similar to the sum, the first parameter in the AverageIFs is this range of values that we want to average. In this first example, it's again our FMV, that's the value that we're interested in. So I'm going to highlight my range of FMVs, hit comma, and now I can enter my criteria. Again, Airbus, so highlight my aircraft manufacturer, hit comma, and last my criteria is Airbus. There we go. The second example, again, I want the FMV where for FMVs for Boeing where the FMV is greater than 10,000. So again, choose my AverageIFs, select my range of FMVs, the values that I'm going to be averaging, highlight all of my aircraft manufacturers, type my first criteria, which is Boeing. Now onto my second criteria range, which is going to again be the FMV. And I want it to be greater than 10,000. Close your parentheses, and there you go. Again, a few more examples for you to try on your own. The answers, the score will be off to the right. Please do comment if you have any questions. I'm always happy to help. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.